What is good? I think we're live on a Sunday, week before the Super Bowl. I'm gonna try and brand this. I'm not a good marketer, man. So we'll
You
wait.
and me
We'll
both.
get some people. I'm not a good marketer, so I'm like, how do I brand like my interviews? Because it's a whole new thing for me. So I think I'm
Yeah.
gonna brand them as like "Let's build."
Okay,
You
I
know the
saw that in the
slang.
little meeting thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
So
episode.
we'll build. Yeah, we'll build today.
Beautiful.
But how you feeling today?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm excited to do this, man. I feel like
Good.
it's crazy. This is the first time we're actually talking because I feel like I
I
interact
know,
with you so much on Twitter. It's like I already know you. It's kind of crazy.
I know, man. It's been not. It hasn't been. Has it been a year? Almost a
It's
year.
been over.
Yeah, over a year. Yeah, yeah. Man, time goes by fast.
It's
I'm
like
gonna I'm gonna talk
November
about. You said what?
was like November was like the election, so I think like we were talking
Mhm.
to each other like early in the Democratic primaries, which was probably 2019.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, Dina Marie made it. She is great. Thank you, Dina Marie. How does our audio sound? We want to get some feedback. Anybody else who's in? How does our audio sound? And then we'll get started. Yeah, I'm shook about the audio issues. I've had all kinds of issues.
I was kind of worried because I kind of hear like an echo on mine. I feel like,
Or are you hearing the echo?
yeah, a little bit.
A little. Is it workable?
As long as it doesn't mess up how it sounds on anyone else's end, like it doesn't distract
Okay.
me. It's very mild.
Okay. Okay. Audio sounds great. What's up, Sarah and Darren Monier? Audio sounds great. So we will get started. How's everybody doing? This is my first interview, and I'm really hyped to do it. I can't believe I'm doing interviews. I just started this channel literally, Will, I'm in my basement right now with the green screen. So that's why you
It
can kind
is
of see
easier. That's the future of broadcasting, bro.
we are in the future. That is so true, man. Because you work
But
from
you're
home, right?
building something because I was looking because I know when we first started talking, we were like at similar levels as far as like Twitter followers and stuff, and you're blowing up. You got like 4 times more than I remember.
Yeah, Twitter is weird. I did
You're
get
getting there.
quite a few. Yeah. Yeah. It's weird. When I start a broadcast, I still have in my head that I'm gonna have zero viewers.
Mhm.
It's just weird. Like I never thought I was gonna ever have people viewing, but the channel's been great, man. A lot of
You're
critical
good at it.
thinkers on here. Yeah, that's how I got up with you. Critical
Yeah,
thinking.
I started
So let
watching
me
your videos, and you're good at this.
thanks. Yeah, I saw a lot of your videos. You haven't done any in a while, right? On the
Yeah, they
YouTube
canceled
channel?
the
Okay.
entire video division of that of the website.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah,
Because they used to have, was it Smart Bets? Or no, not Smart Bets. What's it called?
a sports geek.
Sports Geek. And I was on there watching your videos, and then I didn't know that they had stopped it. But it's all good. We get you on here. Shoot.
Yeah,
We'll keep it going.
turns out the written
What is
word
up?
is my good, form of communication. I'm more
Yes.
effective communicating that way.
Will is a man of a lot of words and doesn't waste any. Does not waste
Ooh,
any word. I look at every single one of your uploads. Just excellent stuff. Let me intro our guest here. Thank you for everyone to dropping in here. First interview. I've got Will Cormier. Will Cormier, he's a sports and political betting writer. He lives in Las Vegas, Nevada. And when he's not wandering around the streets of the Arts District, is that true or just a joke?
I do live in the Orange District, and I do a lot of wandering.
So I found this one interesting. A lifetime of pessimism and paranoia has made Will perfectly suited for handicapping politics. And we're going to get into that. I have a feeling, is that true, Will?
Yeah, and I know we're going to talk about this later, but that's what led me to my accurate January 6th prediction.
Oh,
Because if you're just naturally distrustful, it's the right way to approach American politics because there's nothing honest happening at all. So it trains you to sort of see what's the game behind the game because it's never what we're seeing in the media, right? That's never just like the whole story. It's always, there's strategies behind it. There's a big chess game going on. So I think that sort of approach is important because you have to be so discerning, especially like handicapping politics.
Yes, yes, we are going to get into J6 there. So the topics that Will covers are everything from the Olympics to like the Golden Globes. Like, I don't know how you have the capacity. And when you talk about betting, any little edge matters. So how do you cover such a wide range of topics?
Well, the one thing I'm lucky is that like political and entertainment betting are still sort of in their infancy. Whereas like when you're doing just sports, like when I used to handicap football for these same publishers. And like when I was doing that, you have to be all in. Like football was my life because, and the lines are so tight, the pros are so good, like every little percentage point, you know what I mean? It's like really down to the decimal of just how accurate you need to be to make any money, to actually beat the handicappers long term. But like politics and entertainment, they don't pay the same amount of attention. So I think you find a lot of like weird betting lines that have value because people do follow popular narratives, or they do just get caught up in the online discussion. And so I think politics is my passion. Political betting is my passion. I like following all that stuff. And then the entertainment stuff, it's just like, I do watch. I'm a single guy, got plenty of time to watch all those goofy Marvel movies and watch people's weird theories. And like my betting odds for that Boba Fett show, I mean, my picks, I've did them like a year ago. I've been right on the money. Like everybody I bet would appear in the show has appeared now. So that kind of stuff, I don't put the same amount of effort in entertainment-wise. Like that's just being a fan and kind of being interested in, reading what the nerds have to say about what's going to happen. The political stuff, I really do read. I mean, I read and research a lot. Like that stuff's where I put my full effort. I shouldn't come out and just say I half-ass the entertainment stuff. But like my picks are accurate. I just don't put the same amount it doesn't require the same amount of research.
Wow. So it's so interesting. Before I'm going to get into kind of our origin story, how we kind of linked up. But how did you, the job you have it almost feels like a dreamish type of job to have, like a hard job to get. How did you get into the writing for political betting industry?
It was crazy. Like the stuff I went to college for was like physical therapy type stuff. It's called health ecology. I've never used my degree once in my professional career. After college, I worked at Microsoft for like 5 years in their volume licensing campus in Reno, and then worked for Tesla, for your boys, Tesla, for like 4.5-5 years.
Wait,
on the solar side. Really? On the solar side.
Oh, you've been holding out on me, Will.
I didn't know. This is why I'm not as always like enthusiastic about Elon as you.
Oh, I know. Yeah. No, that's all good. But I had no idea you worked for Tesla.
Yeah, and so I was getting kind of sick of that gig, and I just happened to meet some people. I mean, it's a crazy story how I met these people, but like someone just got me an audition with this company that needed writers, and they were starting out with just like worrying about like SEO stuff. So I did the audition. They liked how I wrote, and so that got me my foot in the door. Wrote from a couple of years just doing any sort of content they wanted about whatever sports, any sort of like I was writing about like the best casinos in Abu Dhabi and like just like goofy stuff like that, like, for like 2 years. And we take this annual trip to Cancun, or at least we did before COVID, the business. And while we were down there, I was just like, because this was like about 2 years before the election. It was right after the 2018 midterms. And it was just like, this is an untapped market. I mean, political betting is going to be huge. It's because it makes sense. Like sports betting, there's only so much of the population that's into sports, but the way the politics is discussed now, it's like all people talk about on social media. It's the biggest, and the way people follow it is like they have their team, you know what I mean? And they're going to bat for their team every day. So it's like the passion's there. So it's like, this is an untapped market. We're not spending nearly enough time on it. And they sat down with them and they end up saying, you know what? we're not even going to give you assignments anymore. We're not going to do, like, just write whatever you feel like writing. Just do it and just publish it, and we'll just don't worry so much about the SEO. And so it is sort of a dream in that sense that, like, I'm given full creative control, like, especially with the politics stuff. That's whatever I want to write about, which is awesome. Because there's not many companies like this that would allow me to do that. And then it's allowed me to sort of build up my brand. So now I can keep doing it, even if things don't work out where I'm at. Because, like, I've got some stuff out there. I've got, several years now worth of work out there. But yeah, there was no like planned path. It just did an audition and sort of won their trust and was given this opportunity.
Wow, that's special, man. You never know how opportunities arise. So you just took it, ran with it. Yeah,
I'm so lucky. I'm just like, my effort in life does not, like, it shouldn't have gone this well. I'm very lucky because I've not put in the effort that is deserving of such a job.
Okay, don't sell yourself short, but there's so many tangents that we could go on. We'll have to link up again to just talk about Tesla, for example, like lay it.
Yeah, we're gonna have that conversation.
The tone of your voice is like, you love Elon now, but after the conversation, you won't.
As much as I like you, there's two things we're going to talk about: this Elon stuff eventually, and the definition of leftist and sort of all of that stuff.
I think I told you I need help on that, so we will get into that. I'm struggling with the leftist thing, so we will definitely get into that. So let me show you here the origin story for how we kind of linked up. I don't even know if Will even remembers this, but this is going.
But I didn't know about, like, I didn't even know that I was on this, like, Jimmy Dore thing for like a couple of weeks until you told me. That was our first interaction, was you telling me where you had even heard of it.
Yeah. So this is actually 2020. Like, you're right. Before the election, we had already been chatting. I was watching Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore is one of my favorite YouTubers. And I watched Jimmy Dore, and look what I saw.
And for Senate in 1972. That's the year I was born. He took office in 1973, became vice president in 2009. I have adult children and was married 20 years. I got a divorce during Biden's vice president administration. If he hasn't fixed America yet, he's not going to do it in 2020. Regardless of who you support, it's absurd how we re-elect the same people over and over despite everything becoming objectively worse over time. Like, all the congressional committee chairs are 80 plus. Need a bipartisan anti-incumbent movement until shit starts changing. I'm with you.
That's a trip. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I muted up. Yeah, and I didn't follow the other person, Legal Politics. I followed you right up there. And I saw, like, this is an independent thinker. So that's the vibe I get from you, that you're an independent thinker, because you said, hey, no matter, like, but we need bipartisan anti-incumbent movement.
Yeah,
how would you describe yourself?
I mean, if that was, I'm saying, just vote everybody out until someone actually has an honest intention. And just keep doing it. Like, that's like a radical approach to overturning the political system. And that's one of my ideas. But I mean, if I'm describing my politics, just populist, working class, like, I care about class issues. I don't subscribe, like, so I don't go too far along, like, the leftist side of things, where I'm not well read in theory, and I'm not some, like, crazy, Marxist or whatever. But, like, if I had to describe my politics, so if we're gonna do bailouts for the big companies, if we're gonna do every time they screw up the whole economy and we just, like, give them all the taxpayers' money, then I do want a greater social safety net. I do want healthcare. If they get it, I just want to be treated as well as the corporations in essence and all. So if we want to do the libertarian thing where you're just left to fend for yourself if shit goes bad, fine. But then they got to do it too. What I can't do is straddling the line half and half stuff. Like, So I'm willing to go as far left or right as I need to be just to get some consistency here. Because then once you know the rules, we can all build our lives around that. But if the rules just are they get whatever they want when they want it, and we're left to fend for ourselves like that. And I think that's kind of what like centrist like incrementalism gets you, because you have these two parties that are like kind of right of center, close. They're fairly close together on everything but a few social issues, and it's always like hot button issues that they use to sort of divide people. But that rhino hunt just distracted me.
Oh, sorry. Let me hide it.
I was just trying to figure out how that even came up.
No, here's what that I like what you. So I asked like, where do you line politically? And look at the answer. Notice Will did not say Republican or Democrat or anything. He said, I want the rules for them, who whatever you want to call them, ruling class, whatever. The rules that they play by have to be the same rules that we play by. I love that.
And so just whoever, at this point, it's almost like I have zero faith in either party to deliver any sort of change. The system is so entrenched that even if you got into office with good intentions, I don't think, like if Bernie had won, let's say in 2016, they hadn't interfered, by now they would have had the populace hating him every bit as much as they did Trump. They would have treated him the exact same way. If not, or they probably would have just supported, like they would have seen him as the lesser of two evils and supported Trump in the election. Like anybody that steps outside. But so I find myself gravitating toward whoever seems like the most disruptive candidate, because I think that's first. You have to somehow shake up the system now.
Ooh, okay, so
and then, so whether it's
Will cite and some other topics, but so how do you feel about the populist right? Steve Bannon, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and them, they're definitely disruptive, right?
They are disruptive, and I give them credit for that. And I don't know how I feel about calling them populist right, just because I think we're setting the bar so low to be considered a populist, which is just like think that you should have free speech against big tech censorship. Like it's a pretty, I don't know if that's enough to be populist, because are they pro like union? Are they big, strong on like labor rights? Are big, renters' right? Like when I say populist, I want what's best for the workers. And so I think some of them are sort of populist in that they supported like the tariffs, like China, like the approach towards trade with China that Trump had, and raising tariffs on them. And then like I think they're all against like trade deals like NATO. And I would consider those things populist to an extent, wanting stricter immigration laws, because like that was usually a leftist belief, is that you have to control immigration so you don't undercut the worker, domestic work citizens, with cheap wages and eating up the job market. Like that really hurts the working class of America. So like that used to be a very normal leftist opinion before like the weird woke stuff got involved. And then you're racist if you want any sort of security along the border or any sort of,
Yeah, that was a Bernie position. That was a Bernie position in 2016. Bernie was.
So like the populist right might disagree. Like when we talk about solving this issue, they want to put up a wall, put a bunch of cops and stuff on the border and lock it down to where they just can't in. But I think you're blaming it on the little guy, the person jumping the border that's like looking for a better life, where it's like, I think my like more populist approach to that, response to that, would be make it easier for people to become citizens, because then once they are citizens, they are paying into the system. The employers can't exploit them at the levels they can, illegal. And then if there is going to be any sort of like enforcement by the government, it should all be towards employers. Make it disincentivize using illegal labor. So I wouldn't care if we amnestied everybody that's in the country already, because once they're into the system, a lot of like the negative impact that they have, whether it's the medical system or welfare or just like labor costs, that issue is pretty much resolved. So I agree that that's an issue, but I just think blaming the people that are paying, going through nightmares trying to get across the border isn't really. So I don't know if that's populist, right? So I agree with them that
No, I think it is.
But so I guess that's where my issues with the populist are.
I think that's.
I like a lot of stuff they say, and the liberals make it really easy for them because the conversations they choose to have in the public are so insane that if you're just not really paying much attention, more often than not, when I log off Twitter, I agreed with something someone in the populist right had to say. But I think that has more to do with the Democrats picking just like idiotic battle lines than does with them necessarily like being populist. But I'm pro free speech. I like that they're doing something. They're giving the Republican the establishment hell, the Mitch McConnells of the world, and I think that's a positive thing.
Yeah. You know what's sticking with me, what you said there was, are we setting the bar so low to describe someone as a populist? Like free speech. Like it's like that's basic.
Yeah.
So I hear you on that. So the problem is they're really the only ones fighting for it.
Or and that's why they do have there is a value to it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, you talked about the Democrats fighting these weird battles. Just today, Mayor Eric Garcetti said he took off his mask, but he held his breath so he wasn't spreading.
There you go.
Like the party is so weird now. I quote tweeted it, and I was like, and let me know what you think about this. Well, we'll get into it later, but so we'll get into it later. I'm talking about the future of the Democrat Party. But let's talk about what you do and your site here so I can set the table for everyone. Will here is a writer, an excellent writer for the Sports Geek. Can you tell us about the Sports Geek website?
Yeah, it's just they're mostly into sports betting, but they cover any sort of like online betting. And so they do picks. But we're fully into sports betting. Like some of the other sites are like online casinos and stuff like that. The company I own has a bunch of different sites. Yeah, this one is all handicapping, and it's pretty cool. They're good owners. They have a lot of good writers for the site. They have a really good like AI algorithm that makes picks and is actually like pretty successful at it. And so, yeah, it gets a decent amount of viewers. Like I've been surprised. Like I have more readers than I thought I did, than Twitter would make me think I did. And so, but yeah, it's just a handicapping site. So they cover everything that you can wager on. So, and they have like affiliate deals. So it's mostly like the offshore sites, so like Bovada, MyBookie, sports betting, all the those kind of offshore bookmakers.
Nice. So Will, I just had Will on. This isn't like any endorsement type thing. I just wanted him to talk about the hard work that he does. What I love about his writing, and I think I have a couple quotes here, but what I love about your writing, Will, is it feels like you have a freedom to write politically on this. I didn't even know there was a political betting world. And you have this freedom to write on politics under this umbrella of sports betting, because when you're putting money on will Donald Trump win in 2024, all the BS is out the window. What's really going to happen, what's not. So tell me about that. Do you feel like you have that freedom? It's very refreshing.
I think one of like the first 10 articles I wrote when I was first given the mandate to do this however I wanted to, right? I wrote like that political betting is our one chance to like really make it, like it could be one of the more like important revolutionary sort of hobbies ever if people would get into it, because it forces you, if you want to win, being in a partisan echo chamber is not a good way to do it, because it's going to shade your beliefs, and you're not going to be able to even consider what might actually happen. Like political betting forces you to try to handicap things as objectively as possible, because the only thing that matters is the truth and how the truth will be presented and interpreted, and how that will affect what people do at the polls and what kind of decisions they make, from a political strategy standpoint. And so like it forces you to sort of be aware of your biases, put them on the back burner, and try to look at things objectively, which I think is so important. because most of the media has a vested interest in the outcome. They're not even hiding it anymore. They're just like, they got their team and they're all in. And so they're going to tell you, oh, this is fake. Don't even pay attention to that story. But it might have an impact on the next election or on a possible, court case, something that will happen down the line that could mess them up in the future. Like, it forces objectivity. And I think that's why political betting is so important. And I think that's why I get so much freedom to write how I want, because I don't have to carry a party line for anybody.
Yeah, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm a big Browns fan, and every year my wife will be like, "Who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl?" And every year I'm like, "The Browns." That's not going to
Not being an
work.
effective approach to handicap.
Exactly. So the same thing. Yeah. So the same thing to politics. So if you're going into the midterms thinking, "Oh, Dems are good," like those wacky Republicans, the Democrats, we did everything perfectly.
Yeah.
You're not going to do well.
Everything. Yeah. No.
So that's really interesting how political betting could be beneficial. I took some snapshots here. It's probably small, but you spawn from the Olympics to the celebrity boxing to UFC, all these other things here, just showing that it covers the gambit and everything you do has to be objective.
Yeah.
You don't read the New York Times.
Oh, sorry. I haven't been as good.
No,
I'm going to get back into politics, but I did take a little break. Like once Trump was kicked off Twitter and the election was over, it was just like, all right, I need to decompress here. So I did start covering more entertainment. But like even just reading up and researching for this thing, I'm sort of getting the spark back. So we're about to go back into full-fledged like political mode with the midterms approaching. But I did like focus more on other stuff for a little bit there.
Yep. Comment. I'm sorry if I'm missing the other comments. I can't catch them all, but I saw this one. They said you smiled, Will, when I said the Browns.
Well, just like that would be a really tough existence. Yeah. Like if you were held to that, like you had to be like, yeah, I think the Browns are winning the Super Bowl, and there was any sort of like you were held to that in any way, any consequence for being wrong, that would just be a really ridiculous pick.
Yeah.
Even though they're getting better, or they were.
They're trying. So I'll go through some quick non-political stuff. Then we'll spend the most time on the political stuff. Any quick thoughts on the Super Bowl? What's hot right now as far as picks and betting?
I didn't pull up the odds for that. I can for you real quick if you want. But if I'm just picking off the top of my head, I'm saying Rams by like 10.
Wow. I'm a little surprised. No, you don't need the odds for these stuff. We'll do that. We'll save the odds for the political stuff. But I'm surprised. I think the Bengals are a little underrated here.
They are, but that Rams team, I don't think the Bengals have the offensive line to stop the Rams defensive line. And Burrow's great and he can move around, but I think he's young, he's in a Super Bowl. I just think, and Matt Stafford has been waiting to finally experience success. He's so good. And the Rams have been here before. They lost the Super Bowl not long ago. I just think it's their time. They've got the right amount of experience. They have all these players that they've put together. They kind of remind me of last year's Tampa Bay team, where it's like everything works out and you get a bunch of superstar talent cheap that, even though they've been underperforming, like now all of a sudden they're good again. Like Beckham, Odell's good again, and he has like it's just everything's clicking. That line is insane. They got like Von Miller and what's his face, the Donald.
Yeah.
I just don't think the Bengals have enough to fight that off.
Yeah, makes sense. Let me try this one here off for you. We got the celebrity boxing stuff going on. I thought this was interesting. You brought up the idea because, Antonio Brown was like, peace, and he has financial issues going on. Yeah. Is he going to get into the celebrity boxing thing? What do you think?
I think if he's going to ever get another big payday, that's his best bet, right? It's not going to be in the NFL again. I guess he could do porn. Don't think that's a good idea for your brand. Like, I don't know if he would even make a lot of money as porn. But if you're a celebrity without a skill that's making you any money or a job, the celebrity boxing seems like the way to go these days. That or like Dancing with the Stars. I don't think he would come across very well on Dancing with the Stars. He's kind of crazy.
They make money on that? Do they make money on Dancing with
It's
the
like
Stars?
100,000 an episode or something.
Really?
That might be high. Might be 100,000 to sign
Wow.
on, and then like 10,000 for every round that you get or something. There's money.
Wow.
Yeah, you get money from it.
Now, Will, he's got to watch. He's got to watch out though, because look at this.
He could suck. Devastating.
He's asleep. Tell us about
That's
that.
a former welterweight champion right there.
Yeah.
It's devastating watching these Paul brothers continue to just knock out great UFC fighters. It's just like, and like Tyron Woodley was never. There's a lot that goes into this. Like the Paul brothers took the Mayweather formula and just ramped it up to 11, and it's genius because there's always like an angle. Like Ben Askren, he was never a striker. He's a wrestler. So you get him in there and you knock him out. Like Nate Robinson, older guy, way smaller. Like it's still impressively knocks him out, but like this fight was on a 2 weeks notice for Woodley. Like it's like you remember towards the end of Mayweather's career, like anyway, like he fought Canelo a little early before he had hit his prime. He made sure to like ice Manny Pacquiao for like 2 or 3 years, wait for him to get knocked out. Like there was always a very managed when he took fights. Like they do that, and so Antonio Brown fits perfectly. Like he would get beat, he would get knocked out. He's not a boxer. He's not like he's maybe done a little training, but this Logan kid's young. He's been training for it for years now. He's clearly already brain damaged. Like like once a fighter gets knocked out, they get easier and easier to get knocked out. Like ever since that hit from Vontaze Burfict, like. We can just count that as his first knockout, or maybe not even his first. And then everything that's happened to him since, like that doesn't speak well to his mental, to his brain health, his ability to sort of withstand more shots. He doesn't like heal up. You don't get a better chin.
Yeah,
and he's smaller.
For those,
I mean, he would just get destroyed. But it's a payday.
Yep. For those who don't know, Antonio Brown, wide receiver, got hit a few years ago. One of the hardest and ugliest hits I've ever seen.
Dirty.
So let's get through.
So dirty.
Yeah. So, Will, you don't spend much time on curling, do you? Now, I saw you talking about the Olympics. Like, who's watching?
Was one of the rare assignments someone made me do.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a hot topic. I can see.
Yeah, it was just like a quick thing they needed real quick for like the Olympics SEO. I don't know the keyword stuff. I don't understand all that. This was.
I actually need to talk to you. Yeah. What was this about? The bet in the halftime of the Super Bowl, they're going to flip a coin in space. Is that true?
I can't find any confirmation that it's at the halftime. I don't know if it's the official coin toss. I don't know if it's just like a promotional event they're doing. But Bet Online has betting odds for some sort of coin flip that's taking place on Super Bowl Sunday. It's taking place in space. And I don't even know. I looked up a past like coin flip in outer space, and the coin just floated up to the ceiling as you expect. So I don't even know how you do it. I don't know how you call it. Is it just where you snatch it out of the air and flip it over on your hand, or? But that's interesting to me. That you can bet on something like that is just fascinating.
Very interesting. So let's get into the politics now. Let's look at before we get into like the Republican Democrat stuff. Any thoughts on the Joe Rogan? Is there any betting angle? I'm just throwing it out there. Any thoughts on the Joe Rogan situation?
I haven't seen any betting lines on it. Every once in a while there will be Joe Rogan betting odds. Like they had some stuff on whether he would like host a debate or whether he would have certain people on and stuff. But I haven't seen any like betting odds on this. It's a joke. It's so clear. Well, did you see like the whole thing? The video that was made that got him in trouble was made by like a Democratic like super PAC. It's that Midas Touch people that make all this.
Oh yeah.
And what I just noticed is the rules definitely switched like around 2015. Because if you notice, yeah, he was saying the N-word in those clips. And in every single one of the situations, he was quoting someone or referencing the word itself, having a discussion about the word itself. And that wasn't that controversial 10 years ago. Like it wasn't just this like complete, you're never allowed to utter the words no matter the context. That wasn't the case back then. Because I was just listening to like some old episodes of Howard Stern, and I mean, they had discussions. Like I looked up, and it wasn't that long ago that you were people. Maybe it did offend some people, but that wasn't that crazy. And if you look at it, he was never calling. I think there's a difference between using the word and saying the word, right? Like he said the word in direct reference to it. That's not the same as calling someone that. And so I think the video is dishonest, and which it has nothing to do with racism because they were trying to get him for the COVID stuff. Now they're just switching to this, and next they'll switch to trans stuff, and then if they can, which I think they would have done it if they could, they'll go find like a lady to accuse him of something. But like they're just trying to shut him down, or at least make him the Alex Jones, to where there's a stigma attached to the things he says and the people that go on his show and stuff like that. They've been kind of trying it since he endorsed Bernie. That was like the first time they said, "Oh, this guy has a big following. Like maybe we should start." You know,
I remember that. Great point. Yep. Yeah, he was for Bernie all the way up until I forgot. Then he flipped to did he endorse? I forgot. But yeah, I definitely remember
in the actual election.
Yeah, he had Tulsi Gabbard on there, Andrew Yang, Bernie. So yeah, he's platforming people that they don't want in the club. So this is a good time to talk about the money line. So if you see these money lines we're putting out there, for example, like minus 100, that means you would have to bet $100 to make $100. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's even money. Yeah.
So that's the even money line. If you see like plus 2,000, that means you would have to bet $2,000 to make $100.
The opposite. So plus 2,000 would mean
I'm sorry.
If you bet 100, you could win 2,000.
Oh, I have it backwards. Yeah.
The minus is the favorite. So if it was minus 2,000, you have to bet 2,000 to win 100.
Yes. So if you were to put odds on it, do you set odds, or is that done by like a professional?
Okay. No, we use professional odds makers, but I'll sometimes handicap stuff for myself.
Yeah. Okay, so if you're going to handicap the odds of Spotify dropping Joe Rogan, I'm going to put you on the spot. What would you say?
Plus 650.
Okay, so that would be
$1 you bet. So you'd win 650, you bet 100. So like 6.5 to 1 odds. I think it's fairly unlikely. So like I can actually get this number for you real quick. So there's something called implied probabilities with every betting odds. So let's see, like at plus 650, it has an implied probability of 13.3%. So that sounds about right. I would say that's about the odds that they would just throw away their biggest money maker.
So you're saying, yeah. So just to be clear, you're saying the odds are that he won't be fired.
Right.
Yeah, that's the odds. Okay.
Because at the end of the day, the financial benefit, like following and doing what the woke thing says, there's not a lot of incentive to do it. I don't even know why people give in to these like whatever witch hunts, because they don't have that. Like if you ignore them, they don't ever end up doing anything to you. So like I think they deleted some episodes to sort of pacify the group while they wait for the next story to hit. When Joe Biden shits his pants or something, and then we can switch, and then it's over. So, they appeased the crowd a little bit. He apologized. And now it's just a waiting game. The attention spans aren't long enough. They'll have to wait they might try another couple things and they might hold off and then come back to it. But he'll be all right. He's not getting fired. No one would give up that amount of listenership.
Yeah, he's a powerhouse. Yep. So we can get into a little bit of this here. So what I want to do is start big picture, Democrats, Republicans, then maybe talk about POTUS, House, Senate type stuff. So big picture, this is from Will right here, headline: Biden and the Democrats can't stop sabotaging the 2022 midterms and beyond. Will, what are they doing?
This is where I'm hoping that there's some sort of sinister plan behind the scenes. If they're just this bad at politics, like if they're genuinely trying and just suck this bad at reading the room, like it's pretty shocking. And it's kind of scary that can take over. Like that's what's running the country. But at every turn, they don't deliver on any campaign promises. He doesn't change anything. Like a lot of the stuff they were most crazy about or pretended to be about Donald Trump. He's like repeated like the kids in cages or whatever you want to call it, or a lot of the like with the Muslim countries, the travel situation. Like he hasn't changed anything. He didn't do anything. I don't think it's good to have a president that never shows up anywhere. That's just basically invisible because he has dementia and he's hiding. And like, I just blaming the Senate parliamentarian, like they didn't deliver on anything. And then they keep the messaging on these things that are like really unpopular. Like, hey, Hispanic people don't like Latinx. So if you're going to continue pushing this kind of shit, like now it's a pretty big and like emerging demographic they're going conservative more and more. And so like, if you're not even able to deliver the lip service and like win over like the minority groups that are supposed to be yours, and you're not doing anything to help labor, and you're not changing the sort of corporatist mindset that people are critical of conservatives for, the pro big business stuff, you agree with them on all of that. If you think the answer, I mean, the only things that they seem to think they can run on is January 6th, which clear people don't care. It's not. You're not going to convince me that was a legitimate coup, that you could take over a country like this, a 50 individual states, by occupying the Congress like for a couple minutes. Like it's insane. Like that's like a video game. Like we're like, oh, I captured your base, now I get it. Like that's not how anything works. And so if they're running on that, and then just like critical race theory or like strict like everything that they care about has kind of been rejected by the public. Like you see the mandates are starting to fade away because people are done with COVID. And I just don't think.
No, Will.
I think it's ridiculous.
No, Will. Am I being too? Because they're not stupid people. I'm sorry. They all are not stupid people.
No.
So am I overreacting in thinking, in being, for lack of a better term, scared? Like, what do they know that we don't know? Why would you do a stupid strategy like this?
I think maybe I think maybe like Biden's age and his mental condition might have just made him a tool to where like pin a bunch of unpopular shit on him because he's not going to run again. He's not going to be like, you know what I mean? Get all the unpopular stuff we need to get done because the economy's, there's stuff that's been in motion for 20 years now. Like the economy, it's heading towards a cliff. It's not going to be a fun time to be president the next few years. And so maybe you just put a guy like that in there, sort of the sacrificial lamb, do a bunch of unpopular stuff that won't be reversed later. And there's really no punishment for it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they want to be in control right now because they don't want to govern. So I don't think they had a plan past getting Trump out of there.
Wow. So what does that mean for 2024? Because again, this Will is coming from a handicapper standpoint. So he's objectively looking at the landscape. And Will, correct me if I'm wrong, the goal is with the handicapping is to set the lines where half the people bet on one side and half bet on the other. Or no?
No, that's part of it. Like they'll move the lines in response to like getting too much action on one side or the other. But there is also part of it where they're handicapping the probability of the outcomes. So it's not just trying to get the line where you'll get 50-50. Because sometimes the public way overbet something that's stupid. But
then that's
part of it. It's a it's a formula.
And then that's an opportunity for the House then. If they have, is this all done by algorithm now?
I it's all proprietary, but I would imagine that plays a pretty large role in it.
Wow.
If we're using AI for our site, the big money guys are definitely using AI, like the actual sports books. And so, I'm sure they take it all into account.
Yeah. So here's 2024. And I know we're jumping ahead, but it's fun to kind of talk about. And I mean, unlike sports, this stuff really actually affects our lives. Mm-hmm. I mean, we had a president that just tried to mandate we take a big pharma product. Like this is real life stuff. So 2024, Will, tell me about it. The line is amazingly in favor of Republicans. Republicans are now favored to take. Oh, you're like, oh yeah, no doubt, huh?
Yeah, because it's what after 4 years of hyperbole, they get into office and then show that, oh, that was all bullshit because we don't even want to change the things we've been screaming about. And then the media they don't even discuss it. Like, people see these things. They're not going to motivate. And it was such a, like, look at how many things had to come into place for them to win that election. And just in, 2020, like, without COVID, Joe Biden can't run a campaign from his basement. You have to hit the campaign trail, and it's an aggressive, like, taxing thing. You're in front of people all day. You're calling donors all day. Like, that's an endurance feat. Like, it takes a lot of work, even for the candidate, even with big teams supporting you. So, like, there's no way for him to win under normal circumstances. Then you need the mail-in ballots. Like, you need that to drive turnout, because you can't count on people going to the polls. So, like, there's just a lot of individual things that fell into place for them to barely squeak by Trump last time. And if you read that Times article that showed the amount of collusion and the amount of, like, all the different industries and big tech, the amount of coordination that had to go on to beat him. And then they barely beat him. There was like 40,000 votes across a couple swing states that ultimately made up the difference. And then however you feel about the official counts and stuff, we may need to get into that. But point is, they don't have Trump as president and 4 years of propaganda to inspire that suburban panic to the polls. Meanwhile, like, Republicans, the opposition party now, like, the Democrats have done nothing to reward last election, so they're going to get swamped. It's going to be a massacre because they've done nothing.
Yeah, how
they've
sad.
very publicly done nothing several times now. And then they mess with everybody's kids, and then the masks of stuff that affects your day-to-day life beyond just, like, going online and discussing the current events of the day. Like, it sucks, the masks and all that and the mandates, and worried about if you have to get a shot to get a job. Like, that people will always vote or agree to sit out and not support the Democrats just for their own convenience, for the convenience of your day-to-day life. Like, that stuff ends up mattering more to people than Afghanistan or whatever else.
Yep.
And look at that. Everything's trending in their direction, the Republicans' direction.
Yeah, and look at that line for any other party. I mean, so if you're going to make change, so that means if you vote, if you bet $1, you'll make 2,500. That's not even enough for me to do a bet on the.
No, because it's not going to happen.
Yeah. So my point with that is, if you are going to affect change, you have to do it by taking over politically, not anything else, one of those two parties, kind of like Trump maybe, or these other ones. And that has not been successful on the Democrat side. So people talk about the squad. To me, they're pretty much lockstep with the establishment on most things.
And even when they're not, like, they might not agree, like, if their opinions that they present out, to the public aren't in lockstep with the establishment, like, they're kind of allowed to be this, like, little resistance pocket. But whenever it comes down to it, whenever it's, like, put up or shut up time, Pelosi bends them to her will every single time. So it's like they're almost like controlled opposition, where they'll say there's a certain percentage of the people on the left or middle that want to hear that maybe we could, have health care, maybe, things like that. And those people are good sheepdogs to keep those people voting Democrat, even though there's no intention to ever deliver on any of it. And so, like, they're kind of a tool of Pelosi and them, even if they mean well, which is debatable.
Yep, exactly. Here you have the actual money lines for individuals. Mm-hmm. So it's who's going to win, starting with Trump, going all the way down to Pompeo, who has the longest shot on there.
It goes longer than that. You can put the Iron Sheik at 500,000 odds.
So the one that I saw that I think they're grooming her for 2024 is AOC. I'm actually thinking about doing a separate channel for just AOC news. But what are the odds on AOC? Tell me what you think about AOC for POTUS.
For POTUS 2024 plus 6,000. So like 60 to 1 odds. And I don't.
Wait, is that to win? Oh, that's to win.
To win. You want like the.
Well, here's my thing. I was thinking she was going to run. I don't know if there's odds on that, but.
I don't think there are odds on her just running.
Okay.
Yet.
Okay. Yeah, she's not gonna. I don't think she's gonna win unless something crazy legislatively like something really wild happens to change the whole process. That's not gonna happen.
I don't think she's a good politician, and she's good at what she does. Like I thought when she did those Twitch streams playing that Among Us game was some of the more
Smart.
genius, like political, whatever you would call marketing, or like it was a really smart way to get out there and interact with young voters. And she does have a talent for that, and she does have a talent for like summing up certain like class issues in particular, or certain like working class thing, and in a way that is soothing to people. But I don't think she's ready for national politics on that level. Like she could just keep winning her little district in New York. I'm not sure her popularity would extend out, and then she doesn't whereas like Bernie, she's not going to absorb all of the Bernie followers. She'd get a percentage of them, but then like the real leftists that are the real progressives that have been really paying attention to the squad's many failings, they're already over her. And so she can't rely on them. I think she would really expose herself bad running for president this early.
Yeah, but so you talked about the real. Wait, you said what? Like Beto?
It would look more like a Beto O'Rourke than Bernie. Like it would resemble. Remember who Beto looked like he was in 2018, and he kind of had a similar wave of popularity as AOC, but then he got exposed when he tried to step up. I think it would be the same for AOC. I think she would be more like that than she would someone that really got a grassroots movement going. Because she does the woke stuff too much. Like Bernie could get working class voters by staying away from that. She leaned so far into like the critical race stuff and like the more woke things that if anything, she would really inspire Republicans to get out and vote in fear of her. She makes a good target like that for conservative like radio and talk show hosts, but it wouldn't outweigh with the amount of people, Democrats she got to vote. Or she's taking too many weird stances on like woke stuff. Or I don't know. I think her negative impact as far as voter turnout would be higher than positive. And I just don't think she should do it for her brand. I don't think it'd be good for her right now.
Yeah, makes sense. So looking at the list, one thing that I note is, people can argue if they're real populists or not, but I'm seeing three people who you could at least argue are populist right, and not one on this top list here that you could argue is populist left. The three would be Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis. You could argue whether he is or not, but he's for freedom. And then Tucker.
Whatever they are, they're not the typical GOP. Like they're that new wing of GOP. So whatever you want to call them. But yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Trump, DeSantis, and Tucker Carlson made the list. How about that?
It's interesting. I think he would be crazy to run. Like if there's anything to learn from the Trump thing, it's that enjoy the success today. Like it would be a miserable existence for Tucker Carlson to be president. Like it's so much better just being the top rated cable news host and getting to attack whatever you want to attack and comment. Like actually legislating would suck compared to that. He has such a great gig right now. He has a lot of power in the Republican Party. He kind of controls the narrative for the the right. Like he can do more where he's at right now. So I do think he would be a good candidate. I think maybe I could see him winning a Republican nomination if Trump wasn't running. I think it would be a poor use of his time considering the position he already has. He can affect
right now.
What he's doing. He's the voice of the Republican Party right now.
Yeah. So right now, all roads lead through Donald J. Trump for president.
I think Ron DeSantis at plus 800 odds is an absolute steal.
And
that's the most value of anything right now. That's the smartest bet I see right now.
Yeah, that would be the only other bet other than Trump. And I think you're right. God forbid something happened or whatever. We're kind of a long ways out from it. Ron DeSantis would be the best value probably. And you have here these. Did you set these or were these set?
These are set.
Okay, so these are the set
you can bet
odds.
on these, yeah.
Okay, so these are the set odds, and I'm not really, looking or condoning betting. I'm a big Tesla guy. I would put all my money in Tesla stock,
Right,
but
right.
I think it's still interesting to talk. I know Will was like, nah, but what do you think here? You have the odds here that are set. Republicans are favored. I didn't know if they would be favored in the Senate or not. They're favored in the Senate and the House, big time in the House.
Oh, the House is done because they gained ground in the House in 2020.
Yeah, well, 10 to 12 seats. Yeah.
Yeah, that's absurd. So that tells you what's coming. That's like when there's about to be a tidal wave and like the sea line goes down, all of a sudden you can like kind of walk into this. Well, that's that. Like that is just the warning of what's coming. So yeah, if they couldn't extend their lead under the circumstances of 2020, it's going to be a disaster.
So
the Senate is closer, but I bet they come out with 53 seats or so.
With Republicans?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is 50 again. It's 50-50.
Yeah.
And in order to get to 50-50, they had to lie to people about sending them checks. Like those last two Georgia Senate seats, they ran almost entirely on $2,000 checks that never came.
Yep. Well, they got 14, right?
I don't know. They promised it was after, and then they said, the other 600 counted. Like,
no.
It was not a delivery on what they promised.
Oh,
and then they did
not
nothing with their majority.
Yeah, and the Republicans had terrible candidates. Loeffler, she was awful.
Yeah, and so both Georgia people were like just caught like insider trading on the COVID pandemic. And, so it was a combination of awful candidates and just really fortuitous circumstances. But they don't have any of that anymore.
Yeah. So we got a few more minutes. Here's what this leads into for me. The big question. I don't have the odds. I didn't bring them. Maybe you have it. If Republicans take the House, which looks like it's a strong thing that's going to happen, what are the chances of Donald Trump becoming Speaker? Or I'm going to ask you about Donald Trump, or maybe somebody else that's not in Congress already. But let's talk about that. What do you think the odds of that happening?
I've got odds on Trump. So there's two different sets of opportunities. There's two opportunities here. Trump being elected at the midterms. I mean, no is minus 2,500. So yes is a plus 800. So they don't think he's going to run, obviously, in 2020. It looks like he'll just be kingmaker and he'll, endorse people and fundraise and do that. And then the odds of him becoming Speaker was just as bizarre to me, right? So the odds of him winning are minus 2,500, just winning an election at midterm. But the odds of him becoming Speaker are minus 1,500. So somehow there's a better chance of him becoming Speaker, which he has to win an election to become Speaker.
To my knowledge, to become Speaker, it's up to the members of Congress to vote. They could vote for anybody. No, nope. I don't think so. That's why the odds are a little bit better.
That's what the betting odds in. That's crazy. Has that ever happened?
Yeah. I don't. Anybody in the chat know if we've ever had that? I don't think that's ever happened before, but I'm pretty sure
that would be a crazy interest. That's a weird angle. That'd be a weird wrinkle. But I wish he was more like more forward, long-term thinker. And that is I don't know if he realizes how much more powerful he could be running for that, because there's a new district in Florida. He wouldn't even have to unseat anybody. They're getting a new district after the things have been withdrawn. He could easily, just through his endorsements and people wanting to, his endorsement's so valuable that he could secure all those votes for his votes for Speaker easily. And he becomes a de facto leader of the Republicans. He already kind of is, but this would also give him the power to control what votes see the floor in the House. Think back to when he ran in 2016. Donald Trump is at his best when he's the opposition. It's not as easy to, be the president, but he's at his best on the attack when he's the opposition. As as the Speaker of the House, he could make the Biden administration miserable. He could bring impeachment here. He could stay a nail and like a thorn in their side for as long as he wants, because he'll keep winning. He can win a little district in Florida with the amount of money he raises indefinitely. And so, like, I wish, because I don't know if his ego will let him realize, like, if he's going to run for something, it has to be at least symbolically, the very top thing. Even though if he did win presidency, they would just put the pressure campaign back on him and keep him on the defensive and limit what he can do. Whereas a speaker, he could really be sort of a destructive force. He could play to his strengths, and then they could run someone like Ron DeSantis in 2024. That if you're a Republican like that, if you're maximizing everybody's potential, that's the strategy. I just don't think they'll do it. And then, like, I'm seeing people like Steve Bannon, who you like, saying things like, yeah, we just have to get Trump in as the speaker, and then he can impeach Joe Biden and impeach Kamala Harris and just become president that way. Like, that, if you want a civil war, that's how you do it. That would be the stupidest, short-sighted, like most short-sighted use of his political career that I could think of. Because that's how you reignite the resistance fully. That's how you get people to really like question democracy. And then what? And then you serve out the remaining year and a half once everything's done, all the trials, and then you're done. And that's just not a good use of his time and power. He could stay in the House indefinitely and keep playing kingmaker, pretty much control where all the money goes, because all the money's coming through him, all the donations, and keep, electing his people instead of, as he calls them, rhinos. Keep primarying people like McConnell and just other Republicans that aren't on the game plan. It would just be the most effective. It would be a really smart play for him to.
I agree completely. Donald Trump just doesn't. He thinks about things in either it's grandiose or it's not for him.
Yeah.
And,
power,
he would never.
Quiet power, I don't think was appeal to him as much. And that's unfortunate because he could really, for his goal, he could really further his agenda by doing this and letting DeSantis run for president.
Yep.
They could build a hell of a little powerhouse.
Yep. I think the populist right can still do it. But what Bannon was talking about there is just, I wonder if sometimes he does that for marketing a little bit. Marjorie Taylor Greene too. They want to, they're very good at marketing. So they don't want to bore people with the details and the minutia that they know really is what is needed. They want to get them emotional and riled up. Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, any last thoughts there? That's all I had. Any last thoughts? Anything that we didn't bring up that you think might be interesting?
Bone Thugs and Harmony. I wanted to talk about them at some point because you're one of the people that agrees with me that Bone Thugs and Harmony is one of the most influential and important rap groups of all time.
Yes, sir.
I can talk about that. We got to have this discussion about populism and what's leftist eventually, but that's too much for today.
Oh yeah, you're right. I forgot. Yeah, we'll do that another time.
Yeah.
Because that might be like a fifth.
Hillary.
Yeah, the populist. Well, the leftist. The verbiage is really coming down to the verbiage. And you're a writer, so I need your help. I'm not a good writer, so I need your help on that. That we could just do a half an hour on that. That's a great conversation.
Because a lot of the things that people are saying is communist is like totalitarian. I don't know. We'll talk about that later.
Yep. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, again, is part of that. What she even said it, she's calling everything communist to make it easier for the more low information voters to just understand it's bad. She's doing it on purpose. She even said that. So not exactly the low information, but she said it. She said she's using it to make it easy, keep it simple.
Smart.
Yeah, very smart. She's very smart. So good. Well, we got to set this up again so we can have those other conversations. I greatly appreciate it, man. Come back anytime. Take care.
Yeah, man. I really enjoyed this. Have a good one. See you on Twitter.
Yep. Bye, everybody in the chat. Thanks a lot. Take care.